and that provides room for the Sahel is dry, hot, and vast, so it's difficult to govern, and that provides room for criminals who've trafficked people.
A good day to you. I hope you had yourself an amazing Thursday. This is the Black Hot Fire Network, and of course, it's the 19th of September 2024. 100 days to Christmas, in case you didn't know. The year is coming to an end, in short. We all had plans as the year was starting. I ditched mine at around April. I'm going to start again. We try again next year. I hope yours are going well, and if they are not, you can as well ditch them. It's life is for the living. So I hope you had yourself an amazing day. It's been a rather hot day in Nairobi, and still a warm evening. It's a beautiful warm evening. Of course, I'm here to tell you about each and everything that was happening throughout the whole of Africa today. But our main focus will be the Sahel, and it will be the Sahel because of late there has been a surge in terrorist attacks in the Sahel, as Keith had predicted, as I had, with the Sahel trying to liberate itself. Of course, that has come with a lot of repercussions. Every day we're having attacks all over the Sahel. Yesterday, a military training camp in Mali's capital was attacked, according to the Malian army. It's a military training camp in Mali's capital. It was attacked on Tuesday, not yesterday. That is according to the Deputy Director of Army's Communication Service. There were 2 explosions. They actually exploded the army camps. And up to now, it's very unclear who the attackers are, but of course, it's the jihadists. They are fearing them. It might be the jihadists. That is Mali. Burkina Faso has been going through the same. So has Niger. Don't mistake and think that the terrorism attacks have started when over the last 3 to 4 years. No. These countries have been going through, terrorist attacks for the longest. It has been going through insecurity for the longest. What I'm saying is, of late, that has intensified, or it has gone up a gear, especially in comparison to the last couple of years. This is following military coups that happened in all the 3 nations. The ruling juntas, the 3 countries, expelled the French forces and have now turned to Russian mercenaries for security assistance. In Mali, the Ukrainian government, a Ukrainian insider claimed that Ukraine was sponsoring some of the attacks. Why? Because Russian mercenaries were the ones involved in the peacekeeping missions in the Sahel. Attacks in central and northern Mali have increased. In July, if you can remember, that was when at least 50 Russian mercenaries in a convoy were murdered, shot. So the mercenaries have been fighting Tuareg rebels alongside Mali's army. That is in Mali. You go to Burkina Faso, the same situation has been happening. The US is saying that it has completed its military withdrawal from Niger. The government of Niger requested at first for the US military to withdraw. The military refused, so Niger demanded. And so today the military said, not today, Monday, if I can remember well, the military said that it had completed the withdrawal of its troops and assets from Niger, meeting the 15th September deadline. They had been given up on the 15th of September. They finished that on Monday. So I remember the pullout took phases. It started in May. Then after Niger's new leaders scrapped the military cooperation between Niger and Washington, now the second phase coming. And this came after the coup. Military seized power in recent months. So Niamey has now pulled away from its Western partners, has also turned to Russia for security. The US had about 1,000 military personnel, and that did not sit well with Washington. Of course, they did not agree with that because at first they said that they had not been requested formally to leave, and now they were demanded and given a deadline. France and other European countries have also been chased away of the Sahel. France and other European countries, Washington, that is the US included, had invested hundreds of millions of dollars in military equipment to Niger. And so in the statement that they released, they talk about how hundreds of millions of dollars in military assistance and training had been lost. We never told them we needed it, but they're saying that they had invested millions of dollars in military assistance and training. I'm reading directly from them. So now the US had handed over its last military bases by Monday to local authorities, and about 24 soldiers had remained, but those ones were seen out on Monday. So the departure comes, the departure is aligning with the attacks. The narrative will be, we were the ones who are helping you keep peace, and now that you've chased us away, look at the country. So of course, to drive that narrative, and in order for that not to happen, in other African countries do not demand the same, I don't think they have the balls to demand for the same anyway. They're going to make sure the narrative is that attacks, and terrorist attacks, and the jihadists and the Al-Qaedas and the killings of civilians and villagers, because most of these killings are villagers getting killed. Most of these killings are villagers getting killed, civilians and women and children. So the narrative will be that now, because we withdrew from your country, you now can no longer be able to keep peace by yourself. So you needed us anyway.
Weapons and drugs for years. Still, it was once safe enough to host art and musical festivals and motorsport events. Now, much of it is a danger zone. The conflict that is more widely known from the Sahel is the Boko Haram insurgency in the Lake Chad Basin. That's in its 10th year now, with the group and its splinter factions still posing a stubborn threat. Further west, another potent challenge. There's JNIM, which is linked with Al-Qaeda, and its rival ISGS, the local affiliate of the so-called Islamic State. Both are active in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Since 2016, attacks on civilians and the military in these countries have increased fivefold. The UN says the violence has left 5 million children in the Sahel needing humanitarian aid. Regional leaders and their international partners have largely employed an armed response, which they plan to expand. France is leading the way, but on the ground, not many support this former colonial power. In Mali, there are 15,000 UN peacekeepers, but with a limited scope. While they can put on a show of force, their mandate does not allow them to go on the offensive and fight the armed groups. France has pushed for local action and backed a multinational force by the affected nations. It's called G5 Sahel, made up of troops from Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad. But some donors have not delivered on funding, and others are not convinced that this force is the solution. Mali's government has struggled in the battlefield, and now it thinks a more effective option might be to sit down and talk things out with the extremist leaders, this despite opposition from France. But with limited military strength and a feeble track record of development, the government appears cornered and desperate, much like its neighbors.
Now, Mali has been most affected by the crisis, and it's the country where it all began. In 2012, separatists and groups linked to Al-Qaeda took over the northern part of the country. Military efforts to flush them out were unsuccessful. And now, barely a decade later, armed groups are popping up in other parts of Mali. To date, much of the conflict has been between the country's two dominant ethnic groups, the Muslim Fulani and the Dogon.
The Sanu refugee camp on the outskirts.
That is the angle in which most African conflicts take. It's either ethnicity, majorly it's tribal or religious. You look at all the conflicts that we have, even the conflict in Mali, look at the conflict in Burkina Faso. Most of them always take those lines because it's the easiest line for you to explore if you want to cause that division in any African country. Look at either religion or tribal lines. You don't even need to pay them to spark a rebellion based on tribes and the religion. You just need to convince this tribe that other tribe wants to kill them. Then go give that other tribe guns and give this other tribe guns too. And then tell these ones that those ones have bought guns so that they can kill them. Now these ones will kill these ones because they were told these ones want to kill them. And that is how it starts. Convince the others that your religion is the true one, and those that don't follow your religion should be killed. Now those the ones you convince will be killing these other ones, and these other ones will be killing these other ones as they defend themselves. And now you have a country of madness, people killing each other. And what does that leave you with? A position to steal, a position to call the shots, because they are the one in control now. You can be able to. You started the war so you can stop it anytime, but you don't want to stop it, of course. You want to look like you're trying to stop it, but you don't want to stop it. So you'll be calling for conventions every now and then, peace talks every now and then, to look like you're doing something, but you're not, because if you wanted to stop the war, you started it, you know how to stop it. But then the war is beneficial to you, because in the middle of chaos, there's disorder, and in disorder, it's easy to get away with things. And so that is the situation. The people calling for the peace talks are usually the ones who started the war. And the ones coming for the peace talks do not even understand why they are fighting. You ask these ones why they are fighting these ones. They don't understand. They just don't like them because they don't speak the same language as us. And they killed our people, so we're killing theirs. And others is because they don't worship the same God I do. So it doesn't matter. You didn't do anything wrong to me, but how come you don't worship the same God I worship? So I'm killing you. And in the middle of the madness, they get a chance to steal, they get a chance to oppress, they get a chance to drive their agendas. And now nobody will notice, because how are you going to notice when you are living in refugee camps like the ones on the screen?
Outskirts of Mali's capital, Bamako. Around 200 huts for about 1,000 people seeking safety from attacks by the Dogon people in the east of the country. The refugees are Fula herdsmen, mostly Muslims, like Zakaria Diallo. The hatred between the Fula and the Dogon peoples runs deep. This troubles Zakaria Diallo. There was a dispute in Mondoro. Then they talked it out. But now, the evil in our midst has reached the village children. Their own parents can no longer influence them. The young people have taken up arms. Also, the soldiers don't draw distinctions anymore. Every single Fula child they see, they regard as a jihadi. Seeing Muslim children as jihadis, it's
look at a boy like this one, a young African boy like this one, at the age of 10, 9. They grow up and the only thing they see is war, and the heroes they have are probably people who have killed more people than the others. And yesterday we were talking about exposure. What exposure has this kid been exposed to, apart from war, gunshots, and poverty? How big can this boy dream? Maybe he's talented in something, maybe he's so good in art, maybe he's academically gifted, but he's never going to get to his potential, because what has this boy been exposed to for the whole of his life? How big are his dreams? How big is his scope of vision? Growing up in a refugee camp, probably your parents have been killed in a war that none of them understand anything about, not the parents going to war, not the kids suffering, because they are wars that have been instigated and financed and motivated and sparked by people who just have selfish agendas. They want chaos and disunity. They want chaos and disunity for self-gain. And we end up not just this generation, not just the generation that is fighting. We end up killing the generation that we end up killing those ones that die in the battlefield and those ones that remain. They both end up dying in different ways. And that those that remain hopeless. And in most cases, it's not even hopeless, because they are not even exposed to anything. They don't even understand how messed up their life is. And that is why you look at the desperation in West Africa at the moment. You see, we had that Melia massacre where about 200 people, maybe more, maybe less, were murdered, were killed, shot, trampled on, tear gassed to death as they were trying to cross over Spain. We had the other boat that capsized the other day that had about 100+ people. It's the desperation that comes from such situations where you no longer have hope for for anything, and I think it's better if you try, because living like this is dying, and living like this is almost the same thing. Actually, dying might be better. So you decide, why don't I try? If I make it to Spain, well, my life will be messed up, but not as messed up as it is here. If I die, well, I'm still messed up, so at least I'll die trying. So the hopelessness, the desperation that is in these countries is unexplainable, and it comes from the root cause of this is the architecture and what has been happening for the longest, the neo-colonialism that has robbed the people not just of material things, but also of hope, belief. Because what hope is there when you wake up every day and the first scene that you see is death, is people getting killed, child soldiers getting recruited into the army as young as 11. What country was that? It was Central African Republic, where we had child soldiers as young as 9. And now it was even hard for the Central African Republic army to deal with them, because how do you shoot back to a 9-year-old as a father? And if you don't, he's gonna shoot you. So they kill their kids, because the kids are the ones who've been drafted into the army. 15-year-old is older. We had kids as young as 9 with guns. So they've not just stolen our material things, that is our minerals, our money, they've even gone further and stolen even our hope. And they are now stealing the next generation, because the moment we have our kids as young as 9 getting drafted into the army, that is the next generation getting killed. Because if you get into the army at 9, not the army, it's a rebel group. If you get into a rebel group at 9, what is the possibility of you getting to 20? When in every village, and you might think I'm exaggerating, but for example, in Congo, there are more than 100 armed groups. 100 armed groups. Some don't even have a name. They are yet to come up with a name, but they are fighting already. They don't even know what they are fighting against or who they are fighting, but they are fighting. And one thing they never lack is weapons. They'll be fucked up and there'll be no food, there'll be no medicine, there'll be no vaccines, there'll be nothing happening in those countries. There'll be no electricity, there'll be no roads, but there'll be guns. And the nerve armor. Ever. That never lacks. And I wonder, the channels that they use to supply the armors, they are very effective. I wish they could borrow the same channels and supply medicine. They just ask for the logistic channels. How do you get the guns so deep in the villages? If we could borrow and live from those, maybe we can use the same channels to distribute medicine and books to the kids. But anyway, so now they've stolen from us. They stole from our fathers, our grandfathers. They've stolen from us, and now they're stealing from even the coming generation. Because what hope is there in a country that children get drafted into the army at 9? These are illiterate kids, innocent kids, who now get brainwashed and conditioned. And by the time they are 13, they are lethal killers. They are going to shoot and kill civilians in the blink of an eye without. And you wonder, you hear of, for example, there's that attack that killed 100 people in Burkina Faso. 100 people were killed in central Burkina Faso. Villagers, I'm talking about civilians. They were killed. That was in August by Al-Qaeda linked jihadists. They went into a village and they shot dead 100 plus people. I saw that video. At least 100 bodies were counted in that video. So the numbers might go up. That was in Burkina Faso last month. And most of those who were killed were civilians. And most of the people doing this are child soldiers. And you wonder, where does one get the courage and to shoot and kill your fellow Africans? Then you remember, these people are drafted into the army as young as 9. So by the time they are 15, they are lethal killers, inhumane. They don't see any. You've been in the army for the last 8 years. You got into the army before you even got to puberty. Your voice broke while you were fighting. By the time you got to adolescence, you had bodies, you had killed people already. So you think that person still has any human part in them? That is why they can comfortably walk into a village and shoot dead 100 people, 100 civilians, women and kids. That is how we killed, they destroyed our parents, they destroyed our grandparents, they destroyed us, and they are now busy destroying our future, because those kids are our future. They're the ones who are supposed to be sending to schools to go learn about STEM, science, technology, and mathematics, to go learn about AI, so that we can develop an African AI in this AI age where everything is now going to artificial intelligence. Have we developed anything as Africans matters artificial intelligence? Have we developed anything as Africans matters technology? Do we always have to depend on foreign tech that we do not even understand and that is used to engineer, social engineers, and steal data from us? But then the people we should be taking to school to teach about technology, to teach about STEM, to teach about mathematics, to teach about philosophies, to teach about spirituality, they are in the battlefields fighting wars that they do not understand. What is happening in Sudan? What is the war about? Can you explain what is happening in Sudan? I don't know, the rapid support forces fighting against the military over what? You cannot understand. Just that those ones were told that these other ones are stealing. You know, that minefield should be yours. So go kill those ones and take that minefield. And so they go and kill those ones, but they never take the minefields. The minefields belong to the ones who give them the guns. And the war goes on and on and on. And now look at what is happening in Sudan. Nothing can happen there. War going on and on and on, and the people who started the wars are going to call peace talks every now and then, sit them down. The ones being sat down do not even understand why they are fighting in the first place. So there's no way you are going to stop a war that even the fighters do not understand why they are fighting. I just know I hate that one. That one does not speak my language. I mean, I'm Yoruba and they are these other tribes, so I should kill them. And now it's hard to stop that war because, one, the people calling for the peace talks are the ones instigating the war, are the ones starting the wars. So do you think they're going to start a war and then look for a way to stop the war? That's a loss on their side. So of course, the war is more beneficial to them than peace. Secondly, the people in the wars do not even understand why they are fighting. That is why, look at Ethiopia. What is happening in Ethiopia? Why are they fighting? Tuareg rebels killed 100 plus people too. Now, actually, in Ethiopia, it was the government forces that killed civilians, because apparently they said that the civilians were housing some, So, what is happening in Ethiopia? Can anybody explain what is happening in Ethiopia? What is the war about? If you search the government forces and the rebels and ask them, brothers, why are you fighting? They can't explain. They don't understand. They don't know why they are fighting. They just don't like each other. And so because they were told to hate each other and they listen, and now they hate each other, and now they are fighting, and now they are killing each other. Now it escalates to a point that it can't be solved, and now the kids do not have a future. Now Ethiopia is messed up. What is happening in Congo? Can anybody explain what the war in Congo is about? Well, there are 100 armed forces fighting against each other. Who is the enemy to who? What is happening in Rwanda? Why is Kagame involved in Congo? Why there are 100 armed groups fighting against each other? What is the root cause? If you asked them, brothers, why are you fighting? They can't explain because they do not know. What is happening in Nigeria with the Boko Haram and especially in that part of Nigeria? Fighting because of religion, because those ones don't pray the same God they pray to. Can there be a more stupid reason than that? That I am killing you because you do not worship the God I worship. And so my God told me to kill you because you do not worship him. I don't know what type of God would demand for that. But that is what is happening. That is not enough. Go to Mali. Why are those Malian brothers killing each other every day? Go to Cameroon. Is Cameroon the ones that they are fighting because those ones were colonized by English-speaking country, and we were colonized by French-speaking countries, so we Francophones, and those ones are Anglophones. And so because those ones are Anglophones, apparently your master used to speak English, mine spoke French, so we can never eat in the same table. I'm going to kill you because your master spoke French, mine spoke English. Can never eat. I understand we both Africans. I do understand we brothers from the same ancestors. I do understand we have the same DNA, skin color, blood group, genome. I do understand everything. But you were colonized by the French. I was colonized by the English the Englishman. So I'm gonna kill you. Oh, what is your mistake? You are colonized by the French people. Those are the type of stupid wars we have. What is happening in Somalia? Can anybody explain what is happening in Somalia? Nobody can, not even the ones fighting. There has been war in Somalia since the 90s. Still going on. People killing each other every day. And who benefits from the war? The ones who started it. And who tries to stop the war? The ones who started it. So how we expect the ones who had the matchbox from the beginning, and they're the ones who lighted up the fire, how we expect the same person to put out the fire, I do not understand. And we go on and create so many African unity groups. I don't know, the economic state of West African countries, the ECOWAS. We create the East African Community, the EAC. We create IGAD, we create, I don't know, the SADC for the South African countries. We create the EAC for now the Eastern African countries. We create the Central African Bloc. We create so many. We create the COMESA for a trade bloc in another trade bloc that we have. We create so many organizations, puppet organizations that we claim are supposed to. We create the AU, the OAU that are supposed to help unify, secure Africa. But then the same people who create the organizations, the same ones sparking the war, are the same ones stealing from us, are the same ones stealing even hope from us. So how do we expect to find a nexus in any of that? How do we expect the same person starting the war to stop the war? Until we reach a point where we sit down and analyze and realize we're fighting stupid wars that do not concern us. Because why are people in Ethiopia fighting? Why are people in every African country fighting? Why is there a war in Nigeria? Why is there a war in Niger? Why is there a war in Mali? Why are people in Zimbabwe fighting? Why are people in Central African Republic fighting? Why is there a war in Gambia? Why is there a war in Cameroon? Why is there a war in Somalia? Why is there a war in every other place? In Senegal, why is there a war in Senegal? Why is every African country fighting against things they don't understand? Until we reach a point where, because we might talk about economic liberation, we might talk about all those things, but really, how do you liberate people economically, people who are in refugee camps? In refugee camps. Do you know how many refugee camps we have in Kenya? There is not even a war going on in Kenya, at least apart from the bandits in the north. But we have like 3-4 refugee camps in Kenya. Ethiopians, Somalians are here. There is a war going on in every African country. For what? I don't understand. They do not either. At least I know why there is a war. It's because, but they do not. They fight wars. They don't know why they are fighting. They just don't like each other. They just don't like each other, and they have been taught to hate each other. And in the hatred, the ones who are starting the wars benefit. And just join me as I was about to.
Why is there war in all these places? Because Africa's rich. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. And I don't want you niggas to have it. That's why. Let's answer your question. Why is there war here, there, and everywhere? Because Africa's wealthy. My job is to keep you stupid. Keep your IQ fucked up. Make sure you can't harvest what's under your feet for me. For me and the rest of the world. That's why. That's why there's not wars everywhere else on the planet raging all the time. All these wars always raging just in Africa. Because Africa is the richest place on the planet. That's why. That's why. Okay? That's why. You know? You don't care about your small beehive and shit you doing. God damn it. Demore. We're still in Africa for scale. You want to hear about you? Kid, we paid a whole $25. You're like, so what, nigga? We're taking Africa for scale. So that's a private joke between me and Demore Jeff. He's all concerned about the $25 if it's going to break me. I'm going to be all right about your transportation. We're going to survive that, Demore. Demore is concerned when we do business. Gave you the profit. We spent $25 for transportation. Okay. We're going to be all right, Demore. We're going to make it. We're going to survive that. And with the Europeans there for scale, you cannot establish exactly. You can't establish anything prosperous when exactly economic or society. That's right. When everything is unstable, you can't educate your people like Demore said. How can I'm fighting you because of this tribe? Are they still in the tribal thing? They haven't got, as Demore said, they haven't given the education to even know not to fight each other. And what are they fighting for? They don't know. He's right. So he said, why is I'll tell you why Ethiopia's fighting, because Ethiopia said we're going to try to get good power and start to become a manufacturing giant. We're going to try to manufacture our finished goods. As soon as they said that shit, the war broke out. That's why you should keep your mouth shut. Africans, learn to shut your fucking mouth. That's why I will agree with Joby, secret ass. As far as Africa is concerned, your history shows when you open your goddamn mouth, white man don't like you developing. So you should just do your shit. They're going to find out you're doing it, but try to build it first before they make a war pop off on your ass. So these wars are all is like the Sahel. We know this. It's the Europeans that's backing them. It's the North Europeans now. And the funny, now these terrorists all got state-of-the-art drones. How do these terrorists now all got drones? What jobs do they? What money? Do they got 3 or 4 beehives they're using to buy these fucking drones? How these bastards get all these fucking drones now? These terrorists now got these state-of-the-art drones, so now they can see what Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger's now doing. What store did they go in Africa to get all these goddamn drones from? Oh, who's funding it?
Yep.
Where the terrorists go? The Drones Are Us. They got the new store in the Sahel called Drones Are Us. Come in and buy as many drones as you want.
They don't have money for food, as we come. They don't have money for food. They don't have money for medicine, but they have money for drones.
That's what I'm asking. Where's that money coming from? They ain't got money even for shoes. Motherfuckers walking around with their feet hanging out. Some of these boots and shit.
Yeah, and they don't know how to read. They don't know how to write, but they know how to operate drones.
Exactly. So understand this shit. The sick game has been played, and the puppets have been there to keep it going. So Africans, Ibrahim, it's my shout to you, brother. You're going to have to go invade countries. You got now, for sure, says same that Ivory Coast has conspired with the white man. That's where all the terrorists are coming from right now, Ivory Coast. Ibrahim, look what I'm telling you. You're going to have to do like when the more with some of the 48 laws of power, and he said the art of war. That's why I had to teach Demore that the art of war was not written by the Chinese because China didn't exist. So I'm telling you, Ibrahim, you're going to be like the Emperor of Qin, who said, fuck it. See, you understand? Chinese history, they were warring with each other, just like in Africa. But that was them doing it. You're going to have to be like the African. You're going to be the African chief and say, "Fuck it. If anybody is helping with the white man, I'm invading your ass and I'm taking over the country." You got to be unapologetic. The Cote d'Ivoirians or the Ivory Coastians, whatever the fuck you want to call them, they're not ready for no real war. There's been no wars in Ivory Coast. So you blitzkrieg that ass and you apply real pressure. You'll take that country over in a couple of fucking days. You'll go through that bitch like warm knife through butter. Okay? And you'll run right into the French. And you wipe their ass out right there. And then you take the country over. And the rest of the world, you gotta give the Ivory Coast back. No, motherfucker, this is Africa. I'm keeping it. Ivory Coast is now part of the Sahel states. There will be no more independent Ivory Coast. And as Ghana and them get all scared, I said, fuck around and find out. My next thing is Ghana. The next thing is Nigeria. See, the Nigerians will help you because their country's fucked up. See, these Africans will help you overthrow their own corrupt government. That's what you do. You don't go against the people. You go in there to destroy the government. You know, you do a China move. You do what China did. Emperor Qi said, fuck that. And he invaded all the countries around him. That's how China was created. Emperor, that's why it's called China. Emperor Qi said, fuck that. He invaded where the Art of War was where they wrote that shit from. He said there will be no Art of War wrote here. He said, you want to write this goofy book? I'm going to take you over. So if you didn't follow your own goofy book, I'm going to take that ass over. That's how China was created. By force and blood. That's why they're called Chinese. They would never call it. It said Sun Tzu was not Chinese. Confucius was not Chinese. There was no China. Until Emperor Qi said, fuck that. All you motherfuckers are going to be Qi. He started invading all the countries around him by force. He said, we got to unite, period. I don't got time for all this. That's why Africa has been kept under division with these goofy tribes. Remember, I tried to teach you history. China had tribes. She said no more motherfucking tribes. You're going to be the Chinese tribe. That's it. There will be no more your dumbass tribes. I'm Kikuya. I'm Lu. No more of that shit. Like I told you with the white man, with the Germans. The Germans said no more tribes. We're going to invade all European countries and take them over. These tribes are going to have to go. They did it by force.
And as we come to the end, kids, so that I allow Joby and Kamlesh to set up their show.
All right, you're just trying to rush to get home back to your fly apartment. He's got a fly apartment. He ain't even let his girlfriend come over yet. It's all,
come on.
I know how good this bastard is. I said, hey, you invite your girl? Girl, no, she's at work. Nah, she ain't working on this. She working. See how you living. The more
I'll see you tomorrow. Oh,
every woman, exactly right. Every woman, that's what you gotta do, Jibber. You gotta just be dominant. Take it over. Yeah, he's got the fireplace. He's got the fake fireplace shit up.
Come on, kid.
That's all cool. You know. His girlfriend tomorrow, when you gonna let me come see the apartment? Not now. Busy. But tomorrow, I love you. When am I gonna come and just make ugali for you? Not now. I got airtime making me pumpkin stew or whatever the fuck that shit she made.
Much love, family. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, kid.